She said, "You're everything to me," but I saw her wearing his sweatshirt at midnight. I froze in the doorway, the key still in my hand, my heart slamming against my chest. The light in the living room was dim, but I could make her out clearly enough. She was sitting on the couch, her legs curled up under her, staring at the TV, but it wasn't the way she usually sat. Normally, she'd have her knees tucked to her chest, one hand resting on the edge of a coffee cup, scrolling through her phone, but tonight, she was wearing his sweatshirt. I didn't know how long I had been standing there, frozen in place. It was like the air had gone still, and I couldn't breathe. Every cell in my body was screaming to turn around, to leave the apartment and pretend I hadn't just seen what I'd seen, but my feet wouldn't move. All I could do was stand there, staring at her. She didn't hear me at first. The TV was on, some show I'd never cared about, but she was watching it like it was the only thing in the world. That damn sweatshirt, gray, faded, with a logo from a university I didn't recognize, hung loosely on her shoulders. I'd never seen it before, and that was saying something. We'd been together for almost 3 years now. I knew what clothes she wore, where she kept them, which ones she kept from her exes. But this was different. I swallowed hard and took a hesitant step forward, the sound of my shoes against the hardwood floor louder than it should have been. She turned her head slightly, her eyes catching mine, and the smile she gave me was forced, like she had been expecting me to walk in but wasn't quite ready for it. "Jake?" she asked softly, her voice tight with something I couldn't place. I wanted to speak, to ask her where she'd gotten the sweatshirt, but the words got stuck in my throat. All I could think was, why is she wearing that? What is that? My voice cracked, and I hated myself for how vulnerable I sounded, for how much it gave away. She glanced down at the sweatshirt, then back at me, her face a little too pale. "It's just his." She said it so casually, like it was nothing, like it was normal. His. It hit me like a freight train. My whole body stiffened, and I could feel my pulse thundering in my ears. I tried to keep my composure, but all I could think about was that one word. His. I had never met this guy. I didn't know who he was, but it was clear as day that he was important enough for her to keep a piece of him with her. To wear it. His. I repeated, though I couldn't even process the question fully. "Ooh, who is his? And why are you wearing his sweatshirt, Rachel?" She blinked a few times, like she was trying to come up with some excuse, but all I saw was the panic in her eyes, the way her breath hitched. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. It's just something he left at my place the other day," she said, the words coming too quickly, the explanation a little too rehearsed. I didn't even realize I had it on. I've just been so tired, and it's cozy. It was like my brain couldn't keep up with what she was saying. She was so calm, so casual, like everything was fine, but I could feel this dark pit in my stomach growing bigger and bigger with every word she said. I took another step forward, still holding the key in my hand, like it was the only thing anchoring me to reality. "Why would you still have his sweatshirt here, Rachel? Why didn't you just give it back? This doesn't make any sense." She shook her head quickly, like she was trying to push the words away before they could form. "Jake, please. It's not what you think. You're overreacting. I felt the anger rise, burning in my chest, but I couldn't move. Couldn't process what I was feeling. Overreacting. How could I be overreacting when she was sitting in front of me, wearing a piece of someone else's life? Someone else's clothes? Someone else's scent? How long had she been seeing this guy? How long had I been too blind to see it? I exhaled shakily, trying to keep myself from falling apart in front of her. But I couldn't. I needed answers. I don't understand. You tell me I'm everything to you, but then I walk in here, and I see you wearing his sweatshirt? You don't think that's weird? You don't think I'd notice?" She didn't answer at first. She just stared at me, her eyes too wide, too guilty. She had been caught, and now there was no escaping it. I could see her trying to form the words, but they weren't coming. Finally, she spoke, her voice almost a whisper. "I'm sorry, Jake. I don't know how it happened, but I've been seeing him. I didn't mean for it to happen this way, but I can't stop it. I can't keep pretending like I don't feel something for him." The floor fell out from under me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. She was looking at me, waiting for me to say something, but all I could feel was this crushing weight in my chest. I had trusted her. I had trusted us. And now I was standing in the middle of this goddamn nightmare, holding the broken pieces of something I thought would last forever. I didn't know how to tell you, she continued, her voice trembling. I thought I could fix it. I thought I could make it go away, but I can't. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. Everything in me wanted to scream, to break something, to make her understand how much this hurt, how much it shattered me to hear her admit what had been brewing behind my back for God knows how long. But I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I just stood there, staring at her, my mind a blur of disbelief, confusion, and betrayal. We had been together for almost 3 years. 3 years of laughs, of late-night conversations, of planning a future together. 3 years of this, of us. I had built a life with her. I had trusted her with everything I had, and now she was telling me that she had been seeing someone else behind my back, that she was wearing his sweatshirt, feeling something for him. The tears were starting to well up, but I couldn't let them fall. I didn't want her to see how much it was breaking me. You're seeing him? I asked quietly, my voice shaking despite my best efforts to sound calm. You're actually seeing someone else? While you're with me? She nodded, her eyes wet, but she didn't try to deny it. She didn't try to explain it away or make excuses. She just stood there, waiting for me to process the mess she had made of my heart. And for a second, I thought maybe I could forgive her. Maybe I could just let it go and pretend it hadn't happened. But then I saw the sweatshirt again. I saw how it hung off her shoulders like it belonged there, like she had worn it before, like it had become part of her routine. And I realized then that I couldn't forgive her. Not this time. Not after everything. I need to go, I said, the words coming out cold, but they were the only thing I could manage. I turned and walked out the door, feeling like I was leaving a piece of myself behind in that apartment. The keys were still in my hand. But for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I belonged there anymore. Part 2. I didn't look back as I walked out the door. My mind was a jumbled mess of thoughts, trying to catch up with the reality of what had just happened. The world felt like it had shifted beneath my feet, and I was stumbling through some warped version of it, completely disoriented. The cool night air hit me as soon as I stepped outside, but it didn't help. Nothing helped. I didn't know where I was going, but I just needed to keep moving. I needed to escape the suffocating tension of the apartment, the weight of Rachel's betrayal pressing down on me like a physical thing. My hands were shaking as I fumbled for my keys again, trying to unlock my car. My mind was still stuck on the image of her in that sweatshirt, his sweatshirt. It wasn't just the sweatshirt itself that hit me. It was the fact that she had worn it so casually, like it was a part of her, something that belonged to her now. That sweatshirt wasn't just fabric. It was a symbol of something that I wasn't a part of. I finally got into my car, the engine roaring to life beneath me, and I drove aimlessly for what felt like an hour. I didn't have a destination in mind. I didn't know if I was supposed to be going home or if I was just trying to outrun the pain. I ended up driving out of the city along a familiar route we used to take when we were happy, when everything felt so simple. It was stupid. I knew that. I shouldn't have been driving, shouldn't have been anywhere near that road. But I couldn't bring myself to stop. I pulled over to the side of the road eventually, the headlights cutting through the darkness, casting long shadows across the pavement. I parked and sat there for a long time, just staring at the empty road in front of me. There were so many things I wanted to scream, so many things I wanted to say to Rachel. But now, in the silence of the night, all I could hear was the pounding of my own heart in my ears. How could she do this to me? I thought about all the moments we'd shared, all the times she'd looked at me and said things like, "You're everything to me," or "I can't imagine my life without you." I thought about our plans for the future. We had talked about getting married, buying a house, maybe even starting a family. It was supposed to be us. But now, all of that felt like a lie. I was just another guy in a long line of people she had used to fill the void. I couldn't stop the flood of emotions that hit me. Anger, sadness, betrayal, disbelief. It all swirled together in this toxic mess. I felt sick. I was shaking again, but this time it was because of how fucking angry I was. Angry at myself for not seeing the signs, Angry at her for doing this to us. Angry at him for existing in the first place. I finally opened my phone and stared at her number. I wanted to text her, but I wasn't sure what I would say. What could I say that would make any of this make sense? It had all been building for months, I knew that now. The late nights, the unexplained absences, the weird little changes in her behavior. The way she'd become distant, distracted. But I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to admit that I had seen the signs, but ignored them because I was too afraid of losing her. I put my phone down, closing my eyes, resting my head against the seat for a second. Everything felt surreal. I couldn't wrap my mind around the fact that she had been wearing his sweatshirt, his fucking sweatshirt, and then had the nerve to tell me it was nothing, that it was just a piece of clothing, that it didn't mean anything. I wanted to be strong, to walk away and never look back, but the truth was that I was still in love with her. Despite everything, despite what I had seen, I still cared about her. The way I felt when she kissed me, when we laughed about stupid things, when we dreamed about the future together. Those memories still felt real. They didn't feel like a lie. But now, I wasn't sure where that left me. I couldn't keep living in that fantasy. It was late, but I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to be there, in that apartment where I had spent so many nights with Rachel. Instead, I ended up at a bar when I used to go to with my friends before Rachel and I started getting serious. It was mostly empty, save for a few people scattered around the tables, and I sat at the far end of the bar, nursing a beer. The cold glass felt good in my hand, but it didn't bring me any comfort. I tried to talk to the bartender, a guy I vaguely remembered from a few months ago, but my mind wasn't really in it. I could barely focus on the conversation, and the louder my thoughts became, the more I just wanted to scream. After about an hour, I left, my head swirling with too many emotions. It was like my brain couldn't keep up with the reality of what had just happened. The weight of it felt like it was pulling me down, and I just wanted to escape. But where? Where was I supposed to go now? When I finally made my way back home, it was just after 2 a.m. I didn't want to go back to the apartment, but I didn't have anywhere else to go. I still had my keys, but I had no idea how I was supposed to walk through that door and face her again. I stood on the porch for a minute, the cold air biting at my skin, and tried to calm my breathing. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I couldn't keep running. Not from this. I finally pushed open the door and stepped inside. The apartment was quiet, almost too quiet. It was the same as before, but now it felt different. Empty. Rachel was still on the couch when I walked in. She hadn't moved. She was still wearing his sweatshirt. "I don't know what to do, Jake," she said quietly, not looking up at me. "I never meant for this to happen. I swear. But I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to undo what I feel for him." Her voice was shaking, but it didn't matter. I wasn't sure what I was feeling anymore. Anger, yes. Betrayal, of course. But also confusion. So much goddamn confusion. "I think you need to figure that out," I said, my voice quieter than I meant it to be. "Because I can't keep pretending like everything's fine. I can't keep pretending I don't see you wearing his sweatshirt." She flinched, and for the first time, she met my eyes. There was guilt there, yes, but there was something else too. Fear. Fear that she had just lost everything. "I'm sorry," she whispered. But her apology didn't make the hurt go away. It didn't make the fact that she had already chosen him any easier to swallow. And as I stood there, staring at the woman I thought I knew, I realized I didn't even recognize her anymore.